I was obese. I had been fat for most of my adult life, and that was my main. I'm actually a pretty healthy person, but my main problem was that I had been obese probably since I got married. I know I weighed 168 when I got pregnant with my first child. That was 43 years ago. And by the time I had my second child, I must have weighed about 200, and I fluctuated between 180 and 220 the rest of my adult life. And I tried all sorts of diets. I went on Weight Watchers in the 70s and went all the way down to my goal weight and was all happy, and it lasted about, I think, a year, and then I started to gain it back. And I was very healthy, so most of that, it didn't bother me very much. Of course, it bothered me for vanity's sake, but I managed to live my life, and I had low blood pressure, and I didn't have any problems to go to the doctor with, so I had a couple more babies, and by that time I weighed about 222, 225. That all worked fairly well until I hit like 59, and when I was 59, my knees started to hurt, my hips started to hurt, everything started to hurt. I sprained my ankle twice, and it was terribly painful. It was horrible getting around on crutches when the doctor said don't bear weight. I couldn't do it. I had no arm strength, and the bottom half of my body weighed 200 pounds. So, it was really difficult. And it got to the point where just to get upstairs, I'd have to put both hands on one leg and pull myself up, and then put both hands on the other leg and pull myself up. And it was painful. And then when it got to the point where it hurt to sleep, and it hurt when I was sitting down, I knew I had to do something, but I just didn't know what. It was horrible, but I had just kind of given up. It's like, okay, this is the way I am. They're now making clothes big enough to fit fat people like me. I'm fine, I'll be okay. But it wasn't okay. And I ran into a friend at a Christmas party who was my age, and she looked different. I couldn't figure out why. And she said, well, I lost 74 pounds so far last year. And I said, well, what did you do? And she said, well, I found a diet called the anti-cancer diet. They taught us cooking classes at the hospital. And I thought, well, okay. She had given up animal products and everything. And I thought, well, this is interesting. And so I looked it up on the internet, and I found the PCRM website. And there was a mention of Dr. McDougall on the PCRM website, and I don't know how I got to the Dr. McDougall website. But when I did, and I started to read about the whole program, the 12-day program and everything, it just clicked with me. It made sense, and I thought, I can do this. If Carol can lose 74 pounds when she's 59 years old, so can I. And I started the diet, and I just plunged in. I took the free 12-day program off of the web and printed it all out and printed out all the recipes, and my husband thought I was crazy. We had an argument about it. I didn't do menu planning. I should do some menu planning. So I planned some menus. They didn't have any meat on them, but I made a menu plan, and I started to cook all this food and learned how to saute without oil, which was such a revelation to me. And I know a lot about nutrition because I'd been on so many diets. So I started in on this, and I lost 13 pounds in the first month, which is not wonderful. It's a wonderful thing, but I'd lost 30 pounds on other diets many times. So I just stayed really quiet about the whole thing. I didn't tell my family. I told my husband, that was it. I didn't tell my coworkers. I didn't tell anybody. And I just kept cooking like this and eating like this. And I just kept losing like 5 or 6 pounds a month. That was all. But sooner or later, people started to notice, and I had to tell people what I was doing. And of course, they all think I'm crazy. Oh, that's really good. Okay, thank you. I don't want to do that. I can't give up my cheese. I can't give up my meat. I can't give up my milk. And but it's really worked wonderfully for me, and it hasn't been difficult. Everybody's like, oh, I'm so proud of your sacrifice and your hard work. And I'm like, it's been really easy, and it's worked so well. It was funny because the pain went away sort of suddenly and gradually at the same time. It was less than a month before I could sleep without the leg pain, and go up the stairs. Everything, I think it was less than a month. I've got so much more energy. I was always a tired person. I was always saying, well, it's time for me to go to bed or whatever, and I have so much more energy. I feel probably more than 20 years younger. I feel much better than I did when I was even 40. I can run up the stairs now. I work at a building that has no elevator, and I work on the second floor. And I used to be that I was over there with the handrail and my tote bag, hauling myself up the stairs, and now I run up the middle of the stairs and run back down. I feel like I'm 30 years old. I lowered my cholesterol. I think it was like 59% or some ridiculous percentage like that, and my glucose. They both came down. But see, I'd had doctors tell me, oh, you're pre-diabetic, you should do something. And I'm like, no, leave me alone. I'm not a big fan of medical intervention anyway. So I had been ignoring what the doctors were saying, I know that they lowered the bar for all sorts of things. So I thought, no, I know I have elevated cholesterol, but I think I can take care of it, and I did take care of it. I've noticed I had rosacea on my face, and I didn't even notice it was gone, but it is gone. Rosacea is totally gone. Most other of the skin rashes that I have, I haven't had for 2 years, so I'm assuming that this is part of the reason. And my hair actually grows faster. I don't have much hair, so that's really a nice thing. My hair is growing faster. I have a granddaughter who's 18 months old, and when I go to visit her, I can get down on the floor and crawl around with her and stuff like that. And in the past, I would have had to sit on the couch and have someone hand her to me, So that's, and my kids are just really proud of me, and that's a great feeling. Oh, the website has been fantastic. That was my lifeline. It is my lifeline. I would get up, I would exercise, I would start my hot water for tea, and I would go to the website. And at first, I read almost every newsletter article and looked at every recipe. I looked at any video that was available. Then I started in on Jeff Novick's thread, because he has a lot of good advice in there. And then I started in on the discussion group. And I followed the discussion group for a long time without saying anything or even joining, just to kind of see what it was like. And it's a good group. It really is a good group. And I considered that, like Weight Watchers, it was a support group for me. But, you basically have to do this for yourself, and you have to do it by yourself. But having the website and having the information that I could always go to was really vital. It was probably the best tool that I could have had. I think that if I tried to do this just from a book or a set of recipes, I might have lost heart in the middle, just like any other of the diets that I did. But having this available all the time, and there's so much information on there that is so helpful, that it was really a big part of how I managed to, from Alaska, make this work and make it work so easily. And I feel like I have a lot of friends. I'm meeting people that I've met on the discussion thread here, and I really feel like I have a lot of friends that support me.